cruising along. I feel like he's always got a wild contract, and he's just always pretty much underperforms for the most part. But sure enough, leave it to the Celtics to let this guy completely go off, as they just do now. No matter who the team is, somebody's going off on them, and it was Gallinari tonight.
Yeah, it's open season on these guys, right, Bobby?
Yeah, and that's about the last guy. We talked about Jalen Brunson last game being the random figure who dropped a big game against the Celtics, and he wasn't a 30-plus point scorer tonight. They've had 8 of those in a row against them. But for Gallinari to be that guy, and not just a minor one like, oh, he went off tonight. He did way more than he usually does. For him to be the featured presence, 8-8 out of the gate, 38 on the game, that had to be about as many threes as any single player has hit against the Celtics in NBA history. Never mind the Hawks doing it as a team tonight.
Yeah, that's right. So the Hawks did, the Celtics once again on the wrong end of history, right, guys? The other end. What is it? Was it 23 3-pointers? The Atlanta Hawks. It's the first time any Celtics team in the history of the Boston Celtics that a team has allowed that many 3-pointers. So yeah,
23-8.
Celtics, this team again in the history books for the wrong reasons. Yeah, see, this is what I want. Good call there. Bobby is controlling the comments tonight. Okay, we're gonna let you guys run the show here for a good portion of it, right? A lot of comments here. We're gonna get you guys through this, all right? This is gonna be therapeutic for everyone, all right?
Yeah, keep
it
clean.
Just pretend you're on your therapist couch with your feet up, all right? You were here to vent, all right? Let it all out. Get it all out before you go to bed. You can't go to bed, angry, right? Get it all out.
If Bobby's your therapist, he's actually probably a good therapist. He's going to tell you that everything's going to be fine. It's going to be okay.
I know, right?
They're going to go make a gigantic trade and, fix everything. And there's, all this stuff. Wrong. This team, and I said this yesterday. You're probably not good enough to even make a trade and contend. It's not worth blowing anything up at this point, or throwing all your assets at one player, or whatever you want to call it, to try to catch a team like the Nets or the Sixers, who are clearly better than you. And it doesn't end there. There are other teams right now, many of them, that are clearly better than you. I'm not even sure where they are in this. Are they officially out of the playoffs picture at this moment, or is it? I know they're down the line.
They're down to 7 with the Knicks, so they're tied for 7th with the Knicks.
They're like one loss away from being on the outside looking in. Not that the playoffs are starting tomorrow, but it just goes to show you where they are. I mean, they're not contenders. Their own owner said it today, or governor said it today. We're not a contending team. When you're a game below 500, you can't consider yourself contenders. And honestly, that's the one thing they supported that he said tonight. They definitely proved his point there. They are not contenders, because the effort is what really got me tonight. I mean, you just can't give up 23 3-pointers. That's just where's the on-ball defense? Where is the rotations? Guys, come on. Come on.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of effort, sorry, but I had to cut you off. But I just want to let's transition to and focus in on Jason Tatum, because I mean, for someone like Jason Tatum, after everything that was said, after the performance we saw last night, did you see anything different? Did you even see an attempt to switch his approach, or did? Because I don't know, am I the only one thinking that Jason Tatum gave me the message that, listen, it's not me, I don't need to change anything about my approach. That's the message I got from Tatum, because nothing changed. Nothing. I didn't see anything different. Did you, Bobby?
No, and the defense is what continues to irk us. We've been talking about the defense since opening night, I feel like. And that was a decent one, but then they went right out in that Nets game on number 2 and got absolutely obliterated on that end of the floor. And it hasn't gotten much better since. I keep looking at their numbers and seeing their top 10 and this and that, and I'm like, you don't see that out there. So the whole league must be doing dreadful on defense if this defense is top 10, because they don't have it on that end. The way Brown gets burst by, I thought Tatum had a few decent quarters at the beginning of the week on Sunday and Tuesday on that end of the floor, but then it dipped late. And, I looked at the defensive numbers, especially in the second half for this team. They're 26th in the third quarter and 28th in the fourth quarter in terms of defensive rating. So they just fall off the map in the second quarter. I think Wick said something, and we'll get to Wick's comments earlier about exhaustion and just mental fatigue and all these kind of things. And that's what you do see with this team. They look worn out. They look defeated, like no hope is left. And what describes that better than this game today? It's just a way to salvage a road trip that hasn't gone well at all. make sure it's not a complete disaster, and then get home for 4 straight before the All-Star break, and maybe end up above 500 again, and kind of reestablish yourselves going forward. Now this thing is on the edge of sputtering out of control. I mean, this is 7 straight losses against teams that are below 500, and that includes 2 of the worst teams in the league, the Hawks twice, and the Hawks are. If you watched the Hawks last night and then saw them tonight, and the way they lost to the Cavs and then laid the beat down here, I mean, that just really shows you where the Celtics are in the league right now. It's about as bad as anyone. They might be the Rockets were the most embarrassing team for a little while there with the whole Harden debacle and then how bad it was after that. I think the Celtics have kind of taken the torch in the last 2 weeks.
I think what's most frustrating about these losses is obviously the pattern of inconsistency on defense. But in particular, what pisses me off what the Celtics continue to do is when they're down big, right? It happens in a hurry, right? They're down by 12, they're down by 15, they're down by 17. And then they just regress to what got them there in the first place, right? Poor ball movement, jacking up shots, 6-7 seconds to the shot clock, their approach is as almost as if it's only 2 minutes left in the game, whereas it's still the first or second quarter. Like I saw the exact same thing that we saw last night, that we saw the game before that, where they come out looking great, the ball's moving. Scott Brady mentions it, it's the same thing all over again. Oh man, they're really, you could tell the point of emphasis is, they're really spraying the ball tonight. This is gonna be a different game, Mike. Let me tell you. And then 5 minutes later, they're right back into their old patterns because it's a 12-point deficit and they're freaking out. It's like the world's going to end in that first quarter. And they continue to do it over and over again. So is this a confidence thing? Because at this point, I mean, obviously their confidence is really low, but is it to the point where it's like through the stretch of the game, they're just not mentally tough enough to withstand those droughts? Or is it just these guys just need a break and they're already looking at the All-Star break and thinking, man, can it come next week? Because we're done. We need a break.
I think you nailed a lot of those things. I mean, when I look at this specific Celtics team, I can't think of one solid, really good attribute that stands out about them. Like you said, they lack confidence, they lack an identity, they sure as hell lack toughness. I mean, we saw a little bit of life late in that fourth quarter against the Mavericks. Came up short. Luka hit those 2 nasty threes. Other than that, though, I've seen little, fight like that recently. We obviously saw none of that tonight. This was a schedule loss for them. I mean, they came into this game thinking L, and it was just an L. And you know what?
At this point, Jimmy, the schedule is a scheduled loss. Like the whole thing, the whole schedule.
Bobby, how about Brad before this one, right? When they're talking about the new schedule, he's just like, what do you? I don't know who asked him, but what do you think about the second half of the schedule came out? And he's just like, we play every other day, whoever we play against, it doesn't even matter, okay?
It's an L. It doesn't matter anymore. It's just
I got Trae Young to deal with again. I don't care about who we're playing in 2 weeks. I need to win. This team needs to win now, and we can't stop Trae. We can't stop, Zion. You name it. Any of the opposing team's best player had a field day against us.
And that's the thing about Brad.